Well, hello there, Veronique Kilian. Welcome to the Red Couch Talk.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
Well, I'm really pleased to be in the Red Coach, or actually Red Couch talk.
The
It's a
red
Red
couch with
Coach
the
and
red
a Red
couch.
Couch. Yeah, exactly. Yes,
Normally, I'm
yes.
not so red. It's just because of
No.
the sun.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Veronique, you and I recently met in person at Young Theatre Toit
Yes,
in
that is
Dijon.
correct. That is correct.
And before we get started on, the things we have in common and your story and your journey, maybe you could give us a fun fact about you.
Yes. Well, a fun fact about me is that when I was a little child, 6 years old, I already wrote my first stories about a puppet made of snow melting, calling for help because he was melting. And I used to sit on a swing. It was in the garden at the back of our house. And I was um, s- on this swing going back and forth, and I was singing my at the spot made stories. And the children of the neighborhood, they would hide behind the hedge to
Uh-huh.
listen secretly to my stories.
Wow.
I only later discovered, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's
Yeah.
probably why you became an author.
Yes, an author, storytelling, being in a theater. It's already started very early.
Very good, very good. So, I also know for a fun fact that you are a comedian.
Yes, that is right.
It's probably not what people expect from an interculturalist trainer, facilitator, and
No,
organizational consultant with 30 years of work experience.
that is right. Yeah, yeah. On
So,
the
tell
other
us a bit
hand,
about your journey, Veronique.
yeah, yeah. You mean how I became a comedian or how I
Um,
became what I'm where I'm now?
I would say start with the beginning. Why did you even become an interculturalist? And
Mm,
what's the big what was maybe the big moment that led you on this path?
hmm.
And then, we will slowly move towards the today.
Yeah, no problem. So I am born in four cultures.
Mhm.
My parents are Chinese, which means that I'm Chinese too. And as a Chinese, they were born and raised in Indonesia. And then there was one moment that the Indonesian government told all the Chinese people, either you change your name or you leave the country. And my parents chose to leave the country, but they would work for the Indonesian embassy, which means that they still had to change their name. And so I was born in Germany because they worked at the Indonesian embassy, and I was born there as a Chinese girl with an Indonesian passport, but Indonesia was more the host country, you could say. And when I was 3 years old, my parents moved to the Netherlands because my father got a job there. And in a Chinese tradition, there are two things what is really important and why Chinese also go abroad. And that is to get the best studies and to get the best jobs.
Mhm.
So career is really very important. I know, for example, friends who were in the Netherlands and their parents sent their children to the USA because the education was better there. So that's quite common as a value.
Mhm.
And then I'm very much interested in general things. And I was graduating in general social sciences. And my specialization was intercultural management
Mhm.
because my longing is that there will be real deep human connection
Mhm. Mhm.
beyond the culture. And I think that really being seen and being heard is one of the most universal basic needs. So this was my journey. I went researching intercultural management in the business and organizational context. So I did my thesis in Milan and I studied how Dutch expats did business in Italy and vice versa. And then I started to give workshops about intercultural management, and I wanted to become an organizational consultant. So I started also to study organizations
Mhm.
because culture is also an organizational thing. Organizations have culture, especially when they merge. They have cultures. And so I developed myself as an organizational consultant in the first 3 years after my graduation. And everything comes in threefold in my life in 3 years,
Mhm.
I could say. So the next step was the person in the organization. So I started to become an interim human resources consultant, working inside organizations. And then again, I wanted to broaden my perspectives. So I became more a trainer, more a coach, more a team coach. And the team coaching came 3 years later. Then I started to really do team coaching with an instrument called the authentic dialogue that
Mhm.
really helps teams to show what is alive in them.
Mhm.
And after that, I started to do my specialization on happiness at work, and I wrote a book about it. And I discovered that you have a lot of directions yourself. You can do a lot about your own happiness at work, and especially because when there is a feeling of happiness, the brain starts to react. You get more clarity, you get more juice for wanting to do nice things because I really think that life is an opportunity to experience, to thrive, and to experience more happiness.
Mhm.
And my specialization was happiness at work because we do a lot at work and we spend a lot of time at work. And sometimes when I give workshops about happiness at work, I ask people to share their happiness moments. And most of the time, they are private. But we can't go for dinner and for holidays all the time when we are at work. So we need to find something else. So I found out the ways to train skills for happiness at work. And then I started to develop my skills for self-organizing teams, and that became my third book. And then I wanted to put all my knowledge about transformation
Mhm.
because I support people, teams, coaches, individuals, leaders in really big and deep life changing transformations.
Okay.
And I put all my knowledge in a book. I called it Coaching to the Core and the Magic of Transformation. So I shared my tools for coaching, my tools for team coaching, how to really work deep within so the transformation can really become part of you instead of a trick or something that you only learned as a skill. So it
Mhm.
can't become only superficial. It
Mhm.
needs to be deep down.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what
Sounds
really helped
exciting.
me with that was, for example, the Taoistic training. But maybe we will talk about that later in your next
I
question.
I'm gonna ask you about it. Do you have
Yeah.
a copy of the book that you want to show to our readers? That
Yes, I have it. It's here.
yeah,
I
because
will
I see
show
there are
it.
a few books in the background. Yes.
Yeah. This is coaching to the core,
Okay. Yeah.
about the magic.
Yeah.
Then this is the book about the 5 elements that you can use
Uh-huh.
to as a compass
Yeah.
for teams to thrive.
Yeah.
And then this is the book about happiness at work. And
I'm
This is
smiling because of the Dutch titles. Trying to
yeah.
understand, I'm trying to read them.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course. I will explain them.
yeah, yeah,
This is team coaching and intervision.
yeah,
I don't know if that's the right English word
yeah.
because intervision,
Intervision. Yes,
yeah, intervision
it is the right.
with an authentic dialogue.
Yeah.
And the title, the subtitle is Bringing Teams to Flow and Co-Creation.
Hmm.
And the subtitle and the title of the Dutch book about happiness is Happiness at Work. And then as a question with a question mark. And then the answer is train your skills for happiness.
Hmm. Okay, awesome.
En the third book, the title is Leiding geven aan zelforganisatie, which mean leading self-organization with a dot, and then a question, a paradox,
Yes,
because
yes,
it's this paradox, because you need leadership,
yes.
otherwise it won't work.
Just for our audience, so if they don't capture and understood all the titles, we will link to your website here in the show notes and also on the website, so they will be
Mm,
able to look up your books and order them
mhm.
from there, I assume.
Yes, yes,
Can
you
I
can.
can I come to a question about Tao? Because
Yes,
maybe a lot of people don't really know that.
no.
And I've personally been very moved and impressed by your facilitation of the authentic dialogue that we did it at the TOIT at this. It was like we could say it was a group seminar, but then we had an intense workshop, just basically the facilitators with very few guests that were there. And it was a smaller group than the larger group, but it was very it went very deep very fast. Yeah, and
That's
for
right.
me it was also something where I could sense a lot that was in the room, like, so it was a very deep experience. So
Yes.
maybe I know it's sometimes for a Western audience very hard to understand these topics because they're not so, let's say, brain focused.
Hmm.
Maybe you could talk a bit about, how you got into this topic, how the Tao plays into it, but also, maybe explain it a bit for a non an audience that normally doesn't really understand these topics.
Yeah, sure, with pleasure. Well, first, thank you for the compliment. I really, really appreciate that you say this. Because I didn't hear that before from you. That you were impressed with my facilitation skills and that it was a deep experience right away. And linking it to the Tao, I have to start with the beginning, how I became interested in the Tao. The
Mhm.
Tao is a Chinese practice, and I wanted to find my Chinese roots. So that's one of the themes that is very familiar for people who are interculturalists. You need to have the connection with your roots. And the only thing I had at that time was Chinese food, my
Mhm.
family, but I wanted to become more nourished with the Chinese wisdom. And therefore, I started to study the Tao since 2009. I did this. And the Tao has some basic skills that you learn. For example, how to create more vitality in your body, but also energetic, especially when you say that you feel a lot, the era of, or the area of emotions is something that is very close linked to the body because the body keeps the emotions. And
Mhm.
there is something what is called in the Tao cloudy energy, and that is, for example, stress,
Mhm.
or maybe you feel pain in your shoulders because it's tension.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the Tao practice really deals with that. It's about cleaning this cloudy energy. And they have all kind of exercises for that. For
Mhm.
example, they call this the healing sounds, which means you can breathe out the the negative emotions, for example. And even when you become more advanced in these practices, you can breathe this out, keep the energy without the negativity, and make it neutral energy. which really helps you to delete more tension, and therefore you become more healthier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also about dealing with stress.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a lot of Qigong's. So you use your mind power to go into your body, and by movement, it also helps you to release stress
Mm-hmm.
and to become more balanced.
Mm-hmm.
So the healing sounds are connected to what is called the five elements.
Yep.
And the five elements is fire, for example, your passion. It is earth. It's about are we having common ground? Then there's metal. Metal is the energy that cuts through things. So it really cuts through it. It's about making decisions, making clarity. And then there is water. And water is about emotions that flow. It's also about feeling your innocence again, the essence of who you are. And then there is wood, and wood is about growth, like plants, like trees, like the nature does. But it's not normal growth, it's organic growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like giving time to grow, time to mature.
Mm-hmm.
And then um, there is the fire of the heart. So and what I already said, it's your passion. So did I forget something? Maybe earth. I didn't mention earth yet. No, I did. It's the common ground. So, it's in a loop. But there is a certain order in it that you can nourish yourself, and you can also diminish things when it's too much. For example, um, when there's too much growth, it is not healthy because it will diminish your power if you grow too fast, if it can't mature. So it creates unsteadiness. So you can also diminish that growth so it gets in a more healthy way a grow. So that's all linked to Tao. And then there's another thing. Tao is also about martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And I love martial arts. Would you like me to talk about that more, martial arts?
I would love you to explain the connection because for me
Mm-hmm.
this is very clear,
Mm-hmm.
but please explain it. And then maybe you could put it in the context of, because you were just talking about growing too fast. You were talking about this energy. And, when I'm coaching people, I feel a lot of the cloudy energy all the time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to use that word. I love it. So
Yes.
maybe you can put it into that context
Mm-hmm.
for, a younger person.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe a younger version of you. But if you were talking to someone, let's say between 25 and 30, a young woman in our
Mm-hmm.
field,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to explore this field, wanting to move forward,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of advice would you give them? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if you
Okay.
can put the two things
Yes.
into one question,
Yes.
but I'm sure you
Yeah,
can.
yeah. Okay. So I'll try to explain it to you as you are, for example, 25 to 30, right? Let's say it, that area. Okay, see, if I would say a message to my younger self that was 25, 30, the first thing I would say, please have trust.
Mhm.
It will be okay. Because to my younger version, I will say, you have so much ambition. You are so willing to learn. And I learned a lot in my life. I did numerous courses and trainings. So in life, you need to know when you have to hold your ground. That's an aspect of martial arts.
Mhm.
Also, in life, you need to know what is your area and what is the others. So, for example, one of the martial arts poses is called like this. Maybe I can more show it like that. So it's stretching your arms, right?
Mhm.
But in stretching your arms, you also are creating space because it's the space, let's say, of your heart. It's also the space that you need in life or take in life. Some people are not so good in taking space, and they keep themselves back or they stay small. So become really great. And great doesn't mean that you overstretch, but because if you overstretch, you lose also your anchor point. So it's all about this balance, creating your space and also guarding your heart space. Because if you do like this, there's a really big opening. It means that you're not guarded. Everything can be taken away by somebody else. It's about really cherishing, but don't close because then there's no connection anymore. So all these martial arts poses, they have connection and meaning,
Mhm.
symbolizing.
Mhm.
So martial arts is also about not using your muscles. It's about, in the Tao, they use the stretch of the arms. They use structure. They use the chi, which is life energy. They let it flow in their body.
Mhm.
So when I do like this, it's just a gesture of my arm. But when I have a gesture of my arm that I connect with the chi in my belly, it becomes a different power.
Mhm.
So it's also about self-expression, balance in the middle, not overstretching, but taking all the space that is yours.
Mhm.
It's about letting the chi nourish in yourself, letting it flow, and therefore also become healthier.
This is something very interesting. I wanted to ask you about two things here. So, you mentioned the trust topic. Do you also notice that a lot of people you work with, being in a work context, maybe in a group coaching session or individual coaching or trainings, that they don't trust themselves enough, or that they might not even hear their intuitive voice anymore?
Mhm. Okay, so it's about trusting your intuition and about self-confidence,
Mhm.
right?
So, is that something you also notice as a pattern?
Well, what I notice is that what I would mention it that it's that and a deeper layer because what I would call it survival patterns.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that's why I wrote this book about transcending your survival patterns.
Hmm.
Because I wrote in this book how the survival patterns start in your early youth.
Hmm. Hmm.
For example, when you're born and you do not feel welcome because maybe your mother had postnatal depression, or maybe your parents thought we're not ready yet and we are too young, or all kind of things can have a connection. And some people are just, they have everything they need in food and clothes, and but they didn't have the energetic love, welcome that they needed as a child.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
when that happens,
Mm.
it is universal that it might happen that this little human being loses trust in life.
Mm.
So trust is also built in those early years, where, when example, the persons who take care of you, they compliment you, they recognize you, they give you acknowledgement, they see you, they hear you, and you feel really seen and understood. They have the attention to you because they know what's going on and what is alive. That is what I call emotional presence.
Mhm, mhm.
When you grow up with emotional absence, those people start to doubt themselves because then they do not have the self-confidence that they wanted to build up.
Uh, yes, yes, definitely, yes. And I also noticed that sometimes this is because of early childhood trauma.
Yes, that's
So
right.
maybe in addition to, everything you said, that's also some a pattern that I noticed, that there's some interruption, early childhood trauma, and often people are not aware of it, or they're
Mm-hmm.
not giving it the same, let's say, importance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually, when you talk about something being alive, that's actually killing the life in them. It's
That's
not,
right.
the life is still there, but it's suppressed.
That is right. Yeah.
And sometimes, and I think that's also what you mean with like letting the chi flow, right?
Yeah, also, yeah, because if the chi cannot flow, it's
Yeah,
stuck, right? And
yeah,
that's why it's really good that you can, because also with Taoistic meditations,
yeah,
there is a possibility to heal early childhood trauma. That's
yeah,
why I had one chapter about the Tao in my book.
yeah,
And I do those exercises quite often
yeah,
with my coachees. I also practice them myself. And in my book, I didn't I didn't call it trauma. I called it subtle trauma because
mhm,
it's more accepted.
yeah,
Because most people think when they think about trauma, about real big things.
yeah,
And then they say, but I have exactly like you say. Sometimes they're not aware, and so they say, I had a wonderful childhood. I had everything I needed, and my parents
mhm,
love me. But it doesn't mean that you grew up with emotional presence, for example.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I told you this already, but my parents and my aunt and some other family members, they're all educators. So they all worked with children from
Mm,
families with neglect, a lot of
mm,
neglect. Some
mm,
had no parents, some had one parent left.
mm,
But it was basically, I grew up in an environment where this was very visible.
mm,
And in hindsight now, being a grown-up coach now, reading more about childhood trauma, I had to go back and tell my mom recently, like how amazing the work that they did was, and how
mm,
important it was to help those children gain a bit of psychological safety again, gain a bit of
mm,
confidence again.
mm.
So it was not only about providing a home for them, but also giving them this emotional nourishment that they all
Yeah.
lacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Great.
yeah, and we sometimes see it I sometimes see it in clients in a different doses, obviously. Yeah. And I think one of the patterns that emerges is that then at work, people are seeking the approval, the emotional support, everything. They're seeking it from their managers or from more senior members of the teams. And very often they don't get that kind of emotional needs met.
No.
The cycle continues. Now,
Yeah.
Veronique, your work is so unique on the one side, and on the other hand, it's also so aligned with a lot of the things I do. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation.
Me
In
too.
my model, I call this part of the work body learning,
Mm-hmm.
and as I said, sometimes it's hard for people to grasp, but also I think Western medicine is slowly catching up on, that all these techniques, martial arts, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, they all help us, getting back into life, basically.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes.
is there any recommendation you have in regards to when people notice, like, maybe that there's something not working for them, that they feel stuck? Any quick tips from your side?
Yes. Yes. It is good to know which kind of survival pattern you
Yep.
developed
Yep.
because there are roughly six survival patterns.
Yeah.
And because you can really understand how they started, you can understand the pain. And I wrote six types, archetypes, what you become if you transcend this.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives hope
Mm-hmm.
because it gives hope that if you are growing, then you start to see the vision to what kind of growth are you going. If I can give an example if you want. if you grew up with emotional lack,
Mm-hmm.
for example, what you talked about, neglect,
Yeah.
the human being can develop this thought. There is lack in the world. There is not enough for me. There's not enough attention. There's not enough opportunity. There's not enough chances. It's just not there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they start to suppress their needs for acknowledgement, or the needs for pleasure, or the needs for intimacy. And they start to deny it because it can't be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And if you grow from that with the happiness skill, what I called the thinking skill for abundance. And it's not only thinking, because you have to feel it. You really have to take it in. And when you start to do that, you become the fulfilled designer of abundance. That's the archetype that I described.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with first recognizing that you think it's not there for me. And then you start to design more abundance things. For example, what is my need? And needs can be met with strategies. So, for example, one strategy would be a very big house, that you think that if you have a big house, that is abundant. And at the same time, you could go to a place that you really, really enjoy, a big house or a big place, or maybe in the nature, and really enjoy the space, if that is the space, is the need. And the strategy would be the house. So really enjoy the space where you are, or enjoy the view. There are all these little things that you can do to fulfill your need for space,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore also experience abundance.
Yeah. Great.
Mm.
That's a fantastic tip.
Mm.
Do you normally network in, let's say, do you use LinkedIn?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do you gain clients? What is your preferred method for networking?
Mm. Well, my preferred method for networking is calling people that you already know. For
Uh-huh.
example, like we do.
Uh-huh.
It's a great opportunity for network, also because networking is also sharing knowledge, like we do now. Another preferred way of networking is I have a monthly LinkedIn newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
and I give them numbers. It's really great to give them numbers, because my next newsletter on LinkedIn will be 130 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a monthly newsletter from my own Mailblue system, or actually, well, it doesn't matter which system you use, but I have that system. And then um, I use also groups on social media in which I can share.
Mm-hmm.
I love to use voice messages in social media apps, for example, in Signal. Um, I have regularly meetings with people, especially when I, for example, give my lectures, or if for example, I give lessons in the Tao, and well, I gained two clients because one of them read my books, and she went to my website, and then she wanted to become a chief happiness officer, and I give this education. I can certify you as a chief happiness officer.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started to do that. And she also started to do the Tao, and she started to read the books. So that's how she brought her husband, which is the owner of a big practice in the health care. And they have 3 locations. So it's really nice to also work with her and her organization. And she also learns now how to facilitate authentic dialogue. So that's really nice, but it's because, and it's important to really, in my education, I ask people to facilitate it 3 times, because it's one thing to do authentic dialogue, but sometimes things come up and how to deal with that. And if you don't know how to mention what is alive in the group, then it's difficult
Mm,
because then you may be surprised about what's coming up.
mhm,
And it's also that in the authentic dialogue, people can say one thing in one moment, and the moment they have said it, there's space for something new to become true. So the truth also is changing all the time.
very true
Hmm.
and very interesting.
Hmm.
Um, so what is your next big thing? Have you got anything come up? Launch a new book, a new course? Tell us
Yes,
more.
yes. I have two things. The first is I'm in once a year, I give a theater lecture. In
Uh-huh.
Dutch, we call it theater college.
Okay.
And it's this year on the 30th of September in the Netherlands in a theater because I always look for a theater because it's wonderful the light and the space that you can use the microphone. I also sing and I do the Tai Chi with the Shaolin Kung Fu sword.
Hmm.
So I integrate that in my theater college because I use humor, I use martial arts, I use insight for personal growth, and I will tell my audience about these six ways to survive and the six ways how to transcend them to become the healed archetype, as I call them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And um, and we were looking for a word for this theater college because every year it has a new title. And this year it's called Scherp Zicht, and scherp is sharp, and zicht means sight
Hmm.
because it's the reflection of the sword. You can also say, but it's also the sight, the hindsight, the insight, the what you gain for your personal growth. And this year I connected to the purpose economy. Because if we want to contribute to a healthy planet, we need to make meaningful choices. And if we make meaningful choices for ourselves and for the planet and for other human beings, it helps us to get out of survival mode and to start a healthy life in which we can thrive. So that's one thing. And this year it will be on the 30th of September. And I created this as the day of the purposeful entrepreneur. So it's for people who want to undertake actions. You
Hmm.
don't have to be an entrepreneur yourself, but you need to be to have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the first thing. Next year there will be another day for the theater collection. And the
Okay.
second thing is I will also give Tao teachings online.
Hmm.
There will be courses. I will create that more because I think it's really universal. I think the Tao is really something that can support humankind. It's really great if we have more these teachings, if we can uh, benefit from these meditations.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there's also a way, you asked me about social media. I have an own YouTube channel, so I will share there, and I will also do these Zoom sessions online for Tao teachings.
Oh, that's also great. So we will
Mm.
also find your YouTube channel and add it. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, if anybody wants to contact you, Veronique, are you open to connecting with people on LinkedIn?
Yes, of course. Please find me, send me a LinkedIn connection. I will accept it, especially when you refer to this podcast. I would love also to hear what you got out of it as an
Mhm.
audience, what you learned from it. So that would be really great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I will catch up with you later Now I really have to go, and I thank you so much for being here today, Veronique. This was very educational, also very interesting. I'm so glad we had this chat here, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
I will end with the Taoistic greetings.
Please do.
Yes, so I will do it with this side. Maybe it's more easy. One fist
Uh-huh.
and then one hand on it as a sign of respect. So thank you so much for this invitation.
Full pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Me too.
Bye bye.
Bye.